Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Here it is me again, Preeti Chaudhary, on yet another LinkedIn Live. This time it's a different story. Today we are launching Rainbow Professionals. Now, June is Pride Month, as maybe some of us know, or most of us know. And in honor of that and being an ally, today is the launch of this extremely versatile talent pool stories under the umbrella of Rainbow Professionals. Our guest today is somebody really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to my chat today. Just pick up your waters, teas, coffee, whatever it is, sit back, relax, because I'm going to take you on a roller coaster ride of a lot of emotions, fun, tears, maybe, laughter, sadness, everything. So then, with that, let us officially maybe start this episode. And with that, let me bring Ram into the stream, and then we'll officially start. So here we are.
Hi.
There
Hi.
seems to be some technical difficulty, I think, Preeti, there. I
Yeah,
think he'll join back just now.
yeah, he's here.
Yes.
Yeah, he's there.
Hi.
Okay, here we are. Hello, good evening once again. This is LinkedIn Live with me, Preeti Chaudhary, your host for the evening. And today we are launching Rainbow Professionals with none other than my dear friend, Ram Sinha, who is the co founder of Pride Circle. June being Pride Month, we thought about bringing into limelight the stories of a massive talent pool of people that are present amongst us, but not many of us know about such wonderful, wonderfully talented people. So, with that, let us dive deep into this conversation. I'm really looking forward to all the inspirations and everything else that's going to be coming out now in the course of the next 30 minutes. With that, Ram, namaste. How are you?
Namaste. I'm very good. How are you, Preeti?
I'm very well.
And
Thank
hi,
you so much.
everyone on the live.
Welcome to this LinkedIn Live Rainbow Professionals. It's wonderful to have you here today, my friend. And we are, with your permission, going to dive deep into your story today. Um, Basically, just to understand where you're coming from, what sort of a person, son, brother, whatever else, uncle you are. So, with that, to set the context, Ram, first things first, I would like to understand you more deeply in terms of your family background, and
Sure.
kind of place that you're from, about maybe your parents a little bit, about your siblings. What was it like growing up? Where were you growing up? Over to you.
I am from Jamshedpur, Jharkhand. It's a small town, but it's a lovely town. Family of, it's like standard middle class family, two sister and a brother. And like pretty regular schooling and the fact what we're talking about rainbow professionals today and being LGBT, completely unheard of. No one knows this term, and it's a space where being different is very difficult. If you fit in the norm, it's an amazing place, but if you're different, it gets so challenging. Yeah.
Right. So, what was it like growing up, amongst your sisters and parents? Has there been any conflicts? I'm sure there've been conflicts, and I'm not too sure as to when you sort of learnt about those conflicts within you.
Realized.
How was it then, sort of being there within the family and growing up? Please take us through those journeys a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
So as a child, I was always a different child, and my parents were really amazing. So I used to, because I had like siblings, like even cousins were staying with us at the point of time, and I used to play with the dupattas and stuff, and it was pretty cool. No one like raised an eyebrow, and it was kind of like jolly and fun and all of that. So it was never a problem at that point of time, and to me also it was just expressing like I'm playing with a car, I'm playing with the dupatta. It's the same thing to me. It's just something which makes me happy as a child, right? It's about just jumping around, dancing around, stuff like that. So it was never a conflict in the beginning. But I was a different child. I realized not just from myself, but how people around me behaved. Right, in that sense, uh, I was a little different from other boys. I was a little effeminate, so people started picking on that. People started name calling and things like that. And to me, all of that didn't make me realize like why this is happening or why me. I was just trying to be just myself. I was just expressing how I felt, and it felt good to like dance around or things like that. But people started picking on it, and there's not much. I mean, and bullying is unfortunately kind of a part and parcel of growing up for most kids, right? So it's not something you really go to your parents and talk about, and that started creating a little space where I started realizing that this is not acceptable. What gives me joy, what makes me happy, is not acceptable to some people, right? But
Right.
within family, none of these conflicts were there, at least when I was a kid. And when I grew older, I mean, A is lack of vocabulary, right? So I know I was different, but I didn't know what it is. I didn't even know the term gay, right? So for me to even communicate to someone else, I need to be able to have the right vocabulary. And no one talks about it, no education about it. And this is no internet era. So it was very difficult to put those words together to try to explain. So it was more about a journey with self, which you
Mhm.
can't share with anyone else because you know that no one will get it.
Right. Okay. So you're talking about, school, college, and so on and so forth. How was it being in school, being with other boys and girls? And then you talked about bullying a little bit. Take us through your emotions at the time when you were studying in a school, when you were like maybe 6 or 7 years old, until say about when you get the real angst when you turn pubertical and all of that. Please take us
Yeah.
through those emotions a little bit, please, Ram.
So school is always the time where you have your first crushes and you start realizing whom you like and things like that. So it was pretty regular in a certain sense. There was some boys I like, but no one else around me liked a boy, so you can't say that. So you have to say you like a girl and you have a story about a girlfriend or things like that. And then slowly, and even people in school started picking up on it, like what kind of kid I was. Thankfully, I was good in acads, or maybe I focused on acads because I knew that was my escape route from everything else. Because I definitely hated sports till today, and it's not a stereotype. It's just that my story. I'm not saying that all LGBT people hate
Sure.
sports. There's some great athletes from the community. Uh, and there was one instance. I was a class monitor, and it was probably class 9 or 10. Someone wrote "LADY lady" behind my desk on the job. So there were instances of people calling names that happen in school also, and none of these are things which you probably can go to a teacher and talk about it because you expected to deal with your own thing yourself, and
Hmm.
the other fact that no one will really get it. There have been multiple instances where even teachers tell you like, oh, behave like a boy or be a man or things like that, not realizing the kind of damage they're doing to the kid. So I had a really, I would say, a balanced, a good school years with instances of bullying, instances of hateful comments, but
Hmm.
that was not a very big part of my life. I had a really good schooling in that sense, but definitely something which kept bothering me. Definitely something which did shell me. So, like as a kid, I mean, there was once I remember there was a fashion show going on. Like we were planning for it, and I so wanted to go and participate and talk about how you should do it or how you should dress it. But you know that once you start talking about these things, you'll get a lot more questions like how do you know this or why you know this or all of that, and then you say rather, okay, let me just shut up and not engage, not participate. So I was definitely not confident. I definitely knew that there's so much more I can add here, I can so much more value I can create here, but for me to open my mouth and say that will lead to a lot more negative repercussions for me, and hence you cut out from all of that and focus on something which is simpler, which is the cats, because books don't judge you. You can read them how you like it. So I think, yeah, my survival of schooling was education.
Lovely. Tell me something. You said there was so much going on, and you were sort of on this emotional roller coaster, but you were not really confiding into your family or your siblings. I'm not sure at that point or not. What was your support system like? Did you confide in your friends, in your siblings, in your parents? What happened there? How did you cope? If you were not talking to anyone, or if you were talking to anyone, how did that go about, Ram?
So I was. as a family also we are not where we talk about everything. We're a different kind of family in that sense. So and friends, there were few friends, but again, there's when you don't have the right vocabulary, you don't know how to have that conversation. You just know that some people call you this and some people call you that, and people around you also know that because they've witnessed it. But it's just that I have a really good set of friends for doing everything else, like hanging out, having lunch together, uh, going on a trek or something. Those things we used to do. So that set was really great. It's just that I didn't have someone to talk about why am I different, why I feel this way, and why this makes sense to me. So because I didn't know who would get that, I didn't. So this is a very common experience for a lot of LGBT kids where they feel that they are the only one, because there's no representation of this in the movies we watch, in the love stories we read in the novels. Everything is about a boy and a girl, and this is how it always supposed to be. So, and then as exposure grew, I only got to know that there's more hatred towards this community than love or acceptance. So you realize that if you open your mouth, you're gonna get so much more hate. So you are the shut up. So like you even watch a TV channel debate about homosexuality and the kind of vocabulary they use, they know you know that they're talking about you. So if you feel like if I go out and tell people that this is how I identify, all that hate will come my way. Right now, at least I can still shield myself by not coming out. So not having that conversation with anyone. That was my rationale and my defense. And probably, I mean, as a person also, is it part of personality or an outcome of that? I don't know. It just I'm not very chatty about personal stuff. So yeah,
Okay. So all of this was still in Jamshedpur, right? All your school, all your college has been through
yes.
Jamshedpur, or did you step out for
No,
college?
for
Take us through your college
college,
life
for my BTech, yeah, I stepped out of I went to BITS Pilani. I was in Rajasthan for a semester, and then I moved to Goa in the second semester. So college was different. College was more liberating because there's you have a different set of people who have come from very varied backgrounds. Uh, so college was again great, like from an education perspective. Not too much of bullying, but there were small instances, jokes or things like that. But I had a great set of friends. I was doing a lot of work in terms of part of theater club. I was doing things in college which I held myself from doing in school, but again, not to entire extent. So if I would wanted to play a female character in a drama performance, I would not do that in college because I know it's not still not acceptable, right? There's still people who would crack jokes like, "Oh, that's so gay." It's not aimed at me, but it's about an activity. But you know that that is their opinion. That is the opinion of friends around you. So you rather don't talk about it. So I think college also went in a way where I didn't talk to a lot of people, but at least I started building a virtual support network. I started getting to know about other LGBT people through social media like that. That point of time, there was Orkut and Facebook. So at least I started building that support network in college. In college, I still had great friends, but it's just that we didn't talk about my sexuality at that point of time.
Right. Okay. So at least college was then way better in terms of acceptability, in terms of you coming to terms with yourself, and maybe a little bit more expression compared to school. Am I correct in understanding that?
True, that is correct. Because college just gives a little wider berth of activities to do. So I was doing theater, I was doing mime, all of the things which really made me happy. And you can blur the lines of gender roles and performance roles when you are on stage. So that just definitely gave me that space of expression and coming to terms with me. And college was also a time of very conflicting time because the more I got to know about what really it means to be gay, there was a part of me which really didn't want to be. A part of me thought, God, just be straight, like just fall in love with a girl. Life would be so much more easier. None of this drama. Because when you see that what opinion other people have about you, you start internalizing it that this is the opinion about me, and if there is any way I can change this, because everyone else around me is heterosexual, everyone else around me is gay, everyone else around me is lesbian, everyone else around me is bisexual. So I can change this. So I started internalizing it that this is the opinion about me.
I think we are facing some technical difficulties. Ram, are you around? Can you hear me? Dear watchers and listeners, please bear with us for a second. I think we are facing, Ram is facing some sort of technical difficulty. Um, Let me just try and get him one more time. Ram, can you hear us? I think we've lost Ram. In the meantime, I'm going to take Amit on, and what we are going to do is generally talk about, stuff, but then Ram is back. So I guess we can take Ram on. Ram, you're joining us. Just give it a 30 seconds, 10 seconds, you'll be on. I think your internet is not that great, and people understand that, so that's quite okay, actually. Um, so while Ram is joining in, Amit, we've been sort of doing a lot of different kind of work, and we did, as allies, we did go to that RISE conference which Pride Circle organized in February in Delhi. So as a person, as somebody who has seen through different aspects of life, crisis, leadership, fight, war, peace, what are your views on this whole inclusive diversity and inclusion piece?
Preeti, you have to be comfortable with what you are. Accepting yourself is, I think, the toughest choice that we have to make. And as long as the society gives you space to express yourself, I think it can only benefit everyone. What we have seen is
Hey,
that when the compartmentalization starts happening, that's when the trouble is. And I've been listening to Ram, and I can sort of identify with what sort of trauma the society brings on to its own citizens. In school, if the children don't know how to relate to each other, if there are pronouns which are sort of fixated at birth, and people are not allowed to explore beyond that, you're doing harm to your future generation, nothing else. We have to have the right vocabulary, as you were saying, Ram.
So coming back to that, Ram, let's get back to where we sort of left off. Wherein we were talking about your college life, and you were sort of somewhere mid sentence, and then everything went haywire. So would you want to pick that up from there,
sorry,
please? No, no,
sorry for
not a
that.
problem. No, it's okay.
From a college was great because it was more avenues to explore, more avenues to do your own thing because you're also away from parents, away from home. So it just gives more time and space to do things. So was started building those virtual connections and networks. And there was a part of me during college also where you just get more aware about it, what people think about you, and what is it's like a choice. It's not a choice, but like in my head at that point of time, it was like if I have if I'm gay, then this is my life looks like. This is what people think about me and things like that. And if I am straight, then my life would be so much more easier. So there was a part of me which thought that is there any way if I can fall in love with a girl and just be straight, right? There was so much of homophobia inherent within me because of what I was feeding on in terms of the movies, the books, the conversations, everything else. Thought, God, please let me be straight. But obviously that didn't happen, and thankfully. And so college was a little conflicted time in that sense.
Hmm. Okay, so right from school to college, there was this whole piece about fitting in or identifying, or that conflict of whether to sort of, oh God, please help me. No, I don't want to be this. I want to be that because that's that much more easier. But it so
True.
seems like you did sort of internalize it. You did the acceptance bit, and then you said, okay, no, this is what I am. This is who I am, and this is who I will be. Right. So then
True.
college happened. Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very important step to internalize and accept yourself because if you're fighting yourself, there's no one who can help you. If I'm fighting
Hmm.
with against you, then I can get my friends and have a fight, like have a team. But I'm fighting myself, I'm conflicted with myself, there's no way to move forward in life. Thankfully, that realization came, and I saw that and I also, because of the network I was building virtually, and I actually moved to Bangalore right after for my internship in the last year of my college. And I got to meet so many more people who were from the community, who were out, who were leading their life, who were dancing that they wanted, and that made me feel like if these guys can do it, I can too. So that was the turning point when I accepted who I am. Life changed. So even like during internship, I was staying with my friends. Like it's a college dream, right? Like you want to stay with your friends after college and be best friends forever. And then small things like, oh, where are you going? And I can't tell my friends that I'm going to meet someone or I'm going to a gay party, or because all of this is, I'm myself scared to walk into a gay party because I don't know what to expect and what. And I was like, I had such irrational fears at that point of time. Like, what if there's a police raid, or what if I'm recognized somewhere? Because there's a big part of shame associated with the sexuality. Because I didn't want my parents to know that your son is gay and X Y Z. So, and that's a space where I want to hang out with my friends, but also I want to create my own space to figure myself out, know more people from the community, and just get to learn more about the community. But yeah, so but that conversation and turning took a while because of the internalized homophobia which I had for myself.
Lovely. So then from college on to Bangalore for the internship, and that was the catalyst in terms of acceptance and internalization. Right. So
Yeah.
from there started your professional journey, you know, and at this point in time, you're still not out. You were still out only to yourself, not immediately to your family and stuff. So
Yeah.
how did this change from, you know, an internship into a professional person? How and when did that happen? What was your first company? And then how did the coming out happen? If you can take us through that piece of your life,
So,
please. Ram?
thankfully, my first company was Intel, which I joined as an intern, and I did really well, and people loved me. And then I got a job offer from that. Even at workplace, there were some instances of name calling or things like that because people know whether you come out to people or not. People know that there is something different about this person, and they pick
Mm-hmm.
on that. And these people are the same people who are in college, who are in school, who are in the larger societies. The workplaces do reflect that mindset, right? About what opinion people have about differences around sexuality and gender. Uh, and then I got to know that there's an employee resource group for LGBT people in Intel, but it was in the US. So I know that there's a support system. I know that as a company, Intel is really inclusive and is supportive of LGBT people. It's just that it's not in India. So, and that is also a time when I got to meet some really good people who were great champion allies. And they said, like, so when there was an instance when someone was name calling me at work. And then a friend of mine said, I think you should confront him. I think you should tell him that if you continue with this behavior, you will report him to the HR. And that was great for
Mm-hmm.
someone else to stand for me and say, hey, this is wrong. What you're going through is wrong, and you deserve better. And you have a right to report that person. And then I confronted that person and I told him this is how it's going to be. And then it stopped. And that made me feel like I really do deserve better and I have an opportunity to make a difference for myself. And then I approached the HR team and talked about it. And there was also a time where we had Section 377 on the books, which criminalized same-sex activity in a certain sense. So there were legal implications of that, and not many organizations were doing engaging in LGBT inclusion. While there were great companies like IBM and a bunch of others who were out there participating in Pride marches, but still it was not that big a workplace conversation. Thankfully, the team listened to me and they said, "Hey, how do you want to go about it?" And we got the approvals for the employee group, and I started the employee resource group. So even the first email which you're trying to send out about the ERG is the employee resource group. There was a question. The team said, "Hey, are you really sure you want to put out your email, your name there?" I'm like, if I'm trying to communicate the message that, hey, this is a safe place to come out and be yourself. If I don't put my own email, that's not fair. And hence I put my email there, and that email went to all employees. And slowly things changed. Like every initiative, every program we did, it just made me more confident in my own skin. Because before that, I always wanted to keep a distance between my work friends and because it goes out, like the message goes out. If you post a picture on Facebook with someone who is LGBT or visibly LGBT, people talk. And there's in this digital world, there's very limited space to have a very clear boundary between your professional and your personal. You go on a team lunch with your friends, you take a picture, you want to post on social media, you want to tag each other, and all of that are breadcrumbs for people to find about your sexuality, and that is the fear a lot of people live with. And this is not irrational fear because there have been multiple instances where people have been discriminated at the workplace, where some people have been fired from the workplace for being LGBT, and it has happened. So it's not an irrational fear the community has. But I think after engaging with the ERG, talking to more people, it just made me so much more confident to. Then I went out to lead global programs for Intel and represent Intel on global platforms. So I'm very thankful for the company to believe in me and let me run with it.
Lovely. So it's like that must have been like a weight off your chest and your shoulders, literally. Did it feel that way?
Absolutely, it is. It is. It is a big weight off, especially the parents' part, because workplaces you can change. If things don't go well, you can always change. But parents, there's this whole weight of because now if I like I used to like hang out with my mom and she'd be like, हाँ बेटी की शादी करेंगे तो ये करेंगे ऐसा करेंगे वो करेंगे and that is a conversation. So you know that your parents are building a dream for a day which you're not gonna meet. So till now, if you have been like a good boy, like good school, good college, good job, everything marks the checkbox of good, and then suddenly you are coming up with something which is gonna crash all their dreams, all their aspirations, and you feel guilty for it that मेरे चलते my parents are going to suffer because of me. What answer they're going to give to relatives and other people and their dreams and aspiration? In a sense, the feeling of being a disappointment. So that I think was the hardest to come out to my parents.
How did you deal with that, Ram?
Uh, so coming out to my mom was still easier because I don't know, just moms are great. It's not that dads are not great. It's just that with my dad it was more difficult. But after saying it, and I didn't want to do it over a phone call or email because I wanted to be there. So, like a very nice son, I went on Diwali and blasted this bomb on them that I am gay. And it took a while. It took a lot of time for them to process it. As I said, because you're from Jamshedpur, so no one else they know who is gay. There's no other parents who have LGBT kids. So they have very limited information. So even movies and everything else that is available, easily available, does not talk about it, or it talks about it in a very negative light. So for them, so for me, it took me so many years to understand and come to terms with it. My parents also took a while. Uh, there was for a while a conversation on nahi shadi kar lo sab theek ho jayega because parents feel like oh because you're staying alone now you're having such feelings and thoughts, or my son was all right when he was here, only when he moved to a different city and then these things are happening. So they also try to rationalize like why this is happening or why my son is saying this, but it took them a while to understand what it is. And now we are in a definitely better place. And the best part was throughout this journey from the first time telling them to a place where there's more peace about this topic at home, there was never a day where that love was lost. There was pain and hurt amongst members of family where they are definitely not happy, they're not celebrating it, but there was never a day where we didn't feel like a normal family which we were every day before that. So that was really great. But yeah, it took them a while, and they really hope that someday he will say, yes, I will get married to a girl and all problems will be solved. Unfortunately, I didn't do that.
Oh, that's a nice thing to happen, though, that at least, the weight over there also got lifted, and sort of there was no love lost, like you're saying. So very good
Yeah.
on Intel's part to actually have an employee resource group, and that sort of got you started onto this journey of inclusivity and so much of inclusion all around you. So after Intel, did you move on to another company professionally? What happened? Where did that journey go?
So professionally, by education, I'm an electronics engineer. By my job description, I'm a graphics hardware engineer. I had nothing to do with diversity and inclusion. I had nothing to do with HR in my life, right? But my journey of being different and my realization of what people can go through when they're not being themselves. And if you go in a workplace and talk about, do we talk about sexuality at the workplace? And people are like, no, 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 we don't talk about it. But do we invite our colleagues to our weddings? Do we talk about the kids? They're like, yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole fact that I can talk about sexuality, I can invite my colleagues to my wedding is because I'm heterosexual. If I'm a homosexual man, do I have the same ease of inviting my colleagues to the wedding? And then they're like, oh, yeah, maybe. Then I say, we talk about sexuality all the time. It's just that we don't say the terms and we assume we don't talk about it. Uh, Same with for gender. There's so much gender coding in every single thing we do, from the dress code to everything else. So it's not that it's not a workplace conversation. It has always been a workplace conversation. It feels new because now we're talking about sexuality in a broader spectrum.
Okay, so Intel, and then slowly moved into HR from all the hardware engineering and all the electronics? What happened?
I didn't move to HR. I was doing both. So my DNI work was voluntary work, which was like
Okay.
not my assigned task kind of a thing, something which I was really passionate about, and had a great team from across the world who were representing different parts of Intel. So we used to meet together virtually and do programs on the ground, and had great support from the HR team here. So there was a lot
Mhm.
of passion to do it, and really felt happy by making those changes when you get 10 other people to know about LGBT inclusion, when other people from my company and other companies reached out to me that, hey, how are you doing this? We want to do this in my own company, right? There were instances where I went out and talked to leadership of different companies, like why this is an important conversation. So all of that really added a value, like the satisfaction of doing the right thing. While I was doing great in my day job of a graphics hardware engineer, that was going really well. But this was a different kind of happiness and a satisfaction. Like you are really touching lives of people. When people came back with stories, they came back with how to come out at work, or just finding a safe space, like just having
Mhm.
a conversation when you say out loud LGBT at a workplace is a big thing, right? And that happiness and satisfaction pushed me to do more and more. So I went and won on behalf of Intel, like Champion of the Year award from Out and Equal, which is a very prestigious leading LGBT organization in the world. And Champion of the Year is one person who has gone far and beyond to make a really big difference. So, and it was a global reward. So I was actually competing with CXOs from different companies for this, and I was really surprised that I won this. Then I got listed in 50 future LGBT leaders by Outstanding in Financial Times in UK. And at Intel, I won DNI Hero of the Year award. So all of that kind of came as great affirmations that the work I am doing is really making a difference. And as a
Mhm.
company, they value the work. So that really made it very hard for me to move out of Intel because I really love the culture of the company. But I had to move out because I really saw that there's so much more that needs to be done in this space. That so many more companies need to get started on this conversation, and so many more people who need the support structure. And that's how
Right.
Pride Circle was born.
I was coming to that, but before that, I would just like to remind the attendees, the watchers, the listeners of this LinkedIn Live Rainbow Professionals to please, if you have any questions, comments, do write them in the comment section of this LinkedIn Live. Ram will be taking them up at the end of this show in another 5 or 7 minutes from now. So please let those questions, comments keep coming in that box under this LinkedIn Live. And with that, back to you, Ram. So then the entrepreneur bug bit you, and then Pride Circle happened. Take us through that story, please.
Yeah,
Over to you.
the entrepreneur book was there always. I wanted to do something different, and but it's just that this was the right match of my passion and entrepreneurship, where I met Srini. We met each other in a series of these DNI events, and we both found that hey, there's so much that needs to be done. And we really felt that the pace at which we're doing things is not really that great. And he
Mhm.
was doing great work in his company, same space in the space of LGBT inclusion and overall DNI. And we kept exchanging notes over the years, and then we thought it's time that we really make a big difference, and that's how Pride Circle was born. We started with meetups, which is safe spaces for LGBT community and HRD&I folks to meet each other, because a lot many times an HR professional is trying to do the right thing, but they don't have access to LGBT people because rarely people are out at work. So creating a safe space of meetups to then going on to broader programs around webinars to finally doing India's first ever LGBTI job fair on 12th of July 2019. I mean, that was a big milestone for us to imagine and make it a reality that there would be a job fair where companies would come and hire people from the LGBT community, right? There are so many people who are so scared to come out at work that they don't reveal it, and they're like, every single day they battle with it. But now completely changing the table in a certain sense, where now companies are out there rolling out a red carpet and say, hey, we are hiring people who are LGBT. Obviously the hiring is for the skill set, but the fact that you don't have to hide at this workplace, that was a great
Mhm.
milestone for us. We had some 35 companies come there, and we had some 350 people, and we got like around 50 job offers through that. So that was a really big thing. And we also did it, India's biggest LGBTI conference. We had 50 national and international speakers. We're really raising the bar on the kind of conversation and the kind of seriousness and passion LGBT inclusion required. uh, then we did a second edition of that in Delhi this year, where we had 1,200 LGBT job seekers come for it. And I think before we did Rise, which is reimagining inclusion for social equity,
Mhm.
nobody really looked at what the LGBTI talent pool looks like, right? I mean, but after this, we're like looking at really, okay, there are a whole bunch of people with whole different kind of skill sets, and they are employable and they're really doing well. So why
Mhm.
not hire, right? And our journey of allyship continues. And today, as I'm talking to you, is have launched a global campaign where we have people from 32 countries participating. We have some 90 organizations who have signed up, and in all we have around 3,700 people who are participating in a series of challenge called 21 Days Ally Challenge. It's a series of mini challenges for a period of 21 days, and this is in celebration of June Pride Month. And we have people from NASA, from IBM, from Infosys, from TCS, all kinds of organizations who are really championing inclusion. And for a lot of people who do not know how to be an ally or what should I do if I have to be an ally, I think this is a great platform because there's such micro challenges like bite-sized activities which you can do, from education about the community to laws, understanding that how very basic things like access to a bathroom of your gender, right? Access to marriage, access to adoption, inheritance, every single thing which a lot of people take for granted is a legal hurdle and a barrier for LGBT community. We only got decriminalized in India in 2018. Can you
Yes.
imagine that? Like being a criminal in your own country just
Mhm.
for who you love, right? And so, from a legal perspective, there's a lot more that needs to be done. So, the
Mhm.
challenge is about providing those touch points of education and opportunities to engage. And there are a lot of fun activities also. So, I really recommend everyone who is listening in to sign up. It's free of cost and it's great fun. And there are rewards at the end of it. Like top 10 winners get really cool rewards also.
Thank you for that. And first of all, congratulations on being the pioneer to do something for the community
Thank
in
you.
the country. Very well done with that. And we are proud
Thank
to
you.
be associated with you guys as your networking partners. And as a personal ally, being an ally is so much more than just doing lip service. And that's the whole reason why you and I are sitting here today, because there is such an abundant talent pool of people from the community, but it's just bridging the gap, making those connections with the corporates need to be sensitized that there are people available, and the people from the community have to have enough courage, looking at people, looking at you, and definitely other stories that are going to be coming in every Thursday night at 9 p.m. to say that, yes, we can, we all can. So that is the whole spirit that we are trying to achieve with this Rainbow Professional LinkedIn Lives every Thursday at 9. Thank you so much for those insights. And generally, I mean, it's just a chat. I'm going to pull Amit into the conversation as well. And essentially, it's just some of our own questions, in terms of you touched upon being an ally, so I do understand what entails to be an ally. And maybe Amit, you can talk about what do you think being an ally means, because then I'm going to come on to the question of maybe Ram, if you can shed a light in 3 or 4 points as to what how one can be an ally. But we'll go and listen to Amit first, what he understands from being one. Amit, all yours.
Preeti, I'll just say it this way, and I hope Ram will agree with me. If you're not vocal about it, then you're not really supporting. You can't keep quiet and keep standing to the side as things keep happening, which should not happen, and say, oh, I did not like it. You have to step up and speak. And before something wrong happens, might as well start speaking the positive language. Might as well start speaking of what is acceptable. It is not about what is legal. I think that's where the problem is. We were stuck in the legality that the British left us with. I think we could have gone more with moral. When we're talking about how the LGBT community is accepted, I would say that the social mores of India were more relaxed. They were more understanding of personal choices, because personal choices don't get in the way of your professional competence. That's a very myopic view that unfortunately we inherited from the Victorian morals of the British. Whereas when we look at our own society and we look at our own mythology that way, we are a much more trusting, a much more accommodative society. I think we have to get back to where we were. Accept a person for what a person is, not what we want him or her or a person identifying as something else to be. We can't make those brackets. I hope Ram agrees with what I'm saying there.
I agree with you. I say it this way that don't be an ally that no one knows you're an ally. So you should be vocal and visible about it.
Yeah.
Quick thing, because you use the word choice, and I just want to call it out that a lot many times when we use words like choice and sexual preference, it just kind of makes it lesser than what it is. It's a sexual orientation. I know you didn't say in this context, but I just have a great opportunity to just
Again,
call it out.
see,
So from
that is the
language,
point. If I'm willing to engage with you, it's a learning. That
absolutely,
if it were what you said over there, believe me, I think you had to tell me this point. It's not a choice. It's what you
it's not a
are.
choice.
I cannot
And
change
the
myself. I am what I am.
true,
Like I agree with you completely.
absolutely,
There's no choice inherent
exactly,
in that. And again,
yeah.
because we are not engaging, because we are not talking, we are not able to take these small things away. And I think these small things matter. Preeti.
So
Absolutely. Just
Ram,
the small
so
words, small
yeah.
differences, things makes a big difference. Sorry, go ahead.
So what should it be? What were you saying? Sorry. So when we use choice, it is not the right thing to say, right?
Yeah, because when I say, hey, it's not a choice to be gay. It's not a choice to be a
Mm.
transgender person. It's who you
Mm-hmm.
are. It's your sexual
Yeah.
orientation. Like
Hmm.
for you, I would say, hey, will you choose to be gay for a day? Right? It's not something that you
Right.
can alter and you can't choose. So when we say let's respect choices, it just makes it looks like delegitimizing in a certain sense that I'm reducing your sexuality to a choice. If it is a
Mm-hmm.
choice, let's everyone
Okay.
have a choice, and then it should be very easy for people to change the sexuality. So it's not for a heterosexual person the same way it's for a homosexual person. Because when we say choice, there's so much of pushback. Hey, why choose this? Why can't you choose the other one? Which is the
Mm-hmm.
right way, which what everyone else is picking up. When we say it's not a choice, when it's people who they are, then we're trying to have that conversation how to make space for people who have we have not made space for till now, right?
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Amit, I think there is a question. Can you please help us read that so that Ram can take it up, and then maybe I'll come on to the next agenda. Go on, Amit.
Okay, we have a question. The user has not identified himself, or again, as the nomenclature would go. He said, "Hi, while I have been hearing a motivational story, would want to know some of the steps some organizations can take to ensure better inclusion and fight unconscious bias." I think that part about unconscious bias is something I understand now. Ram.
True. So some steps as an organization is the first thing to do is talk about it as an organization. Do not have this conversation because when you at least start engaging and start conversing about it, you will get to learn so much more. So as an organization, at least have a stand that hey, we are an equal opportunity employer and we support talent from all backgrounds. That includes LGBT people also. At least when an organization is vocal, if someone is getting bullied, they would know they can reach out to the organization. When we don't talk about LGBT inclusion, the message we are giving out is that this is not a workplace conversation. This is not entertained. And when leadership talks about LGBT inclusion, it's easier for everyone else in the organization to talk about it because we do have to realize the stigma of association. If I hang out with LGBT people, if I go to an LGBT event, people will assume I'm LGBT, right? But if my senior manager, director of the company is talking about LGBT inclusion, it's much more easy for me to engage in that conversation. And you'll never have like a great start and you'll do everything right. There would be mistakes on the way, but that's the whole purpose of engaging, having that conversation, and learning on the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Preeti.
So Ram, tell me, thank you. Ram, tell me something. This whole series, thank you first of all for curating this for us. So Pride Circle, Ram and Srini, thank you very much for this. Going
It's
forward,
a delight
they
to partner in this.
Thank you so much. So, going forward, there will be a lot of professionals that would be coming in, sitting in the spotlight, talking about their journeys in terms of personals intertwined with the professional, because this whole series is about rainbow professionals and how they have sort of evolved as people, as professionals, into whatever stream they are at. So, and then there are some who are on the other side, who are still maybe hesitating and thinking of coming out, not coming out. What are your two or three points of, you know, help or advice to these people who are still in a dilemma? What would you say to them?
Preeti, if I
I
can
think
jump in right here, Ram, if you can just add, Major Jyoti Joshi Mitra, she's just added a remark which is building on what Preeti just said. She is working as the Ocean Customer Service Manager North India for AP Moller Maersk. And she writes that I'm lucky to be part of such an organization which promotes inclusion. What are some of the key activities or programs that can be undertaken to create awareness? So I think pretty amazing thing that in your first event that you have started off with a focus on the rainbow professionals, we are having the community come back and want to give back. Ram, all yours.
that's
So
amazing.
let's
So
go.
from a,
Yeah, let's go with the advice first, and then we can come back to this question. Maybe Amit can repeat that to us once again. All yours, Ram.
sure, from if someone is in dilemma, there's nothing wrong to be in that dilemma to come out or not, because so much rests on that coming out. People have been kicked out of homes. Uh, People have been bullied, beaten up, forcefully married, forcefully raped. All of that happens. We cannot turn a blind eye to the reality of the society we live in and the times we live in. If your neighborhood is scary, if your family you feel is not going to get it, it's okay to be in that dilemma. If you feel your workplace will not get it, it's okay to not come out. But build that support system, reach out to people who are already out, who are already there, so that you gain your confidence, you build your trust, and build that tribe within workplaces also. Not everyone is same. There are a lot of great passionate allies also who are just untapped because they don't know that they can be great allies and they can support someone. So start building that support system within and outside the organization, and as that goes, that itself will give you enough indication of when the time is right for you to come out. But build on that support network. If not within the organization, definitely outside. There are a ton of great organizations who are doing good work for LGBT inclusion. Reach out to Pride Circle. We do meetups. We do a whole launch bunch of activities around skill building also. So build that tribe of support. So even being, it's better than being alone. When you're alone and then you have 5 friends, then you have 50 friends, then you have 100 people who get you. That's a journey. But start building that network of a support system.
Thank you for that. And Amit, let's have the question once again, please. Major Jyoti Joshi Mittal, thank you
I
very
can
much
answer
for that
that.
question. Okay,
Yeah,
go
please.
on.
I have the questions, I can answer it. So, from an
Go ahead.
organization perspective, and it's really great that you are in a company which values inclusion. I think it's time where we call something called affirmative action. We go out and talk about LGBT inclusion, do programs which just brings visibility, just makes the other employees aware about the vocabulary, like LGBT kaise bolte hain. Like a lot of people are shy away from saying LGBT. They won't say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender because it's such a big taboo thing. So when you start having that conversation, that's a great start. Bring policies which equalizes the workplace in terms of, if I was getting married to a woman, my wife would be covered in the insurance, but if I was getting married to a guy, he would not be covered from the policies. So ensuring that there are policies which are inclusive. There's a non-discrimination policy which covers sexual orientation, gender identity. Then it comes about hiring from the LGBT talent pool, right? And doing so much more affirmative action. And for right now, I would say just jump in and sign up for the 21 Days Ally Challenge. Let the organization go on this ride. There's a really exciting leaderboard which just mentions the name of the organization, number of allies, and the total score they have. There's a fun way of competing with other companies, mobilizing allies internally, and taking the organization on a journey of learning while having a lot of fun together. So, yeah, sign up for that 21 Days Ally Challenge.
That was Major Jyoti Joshi Mittal, who's part of the Musk shipping lines, sitting in Gurgaon as we speak. Amit, are there any comments or any other questions? Because otherwise, I do have something, but if there are any comments, please help us
We
with
had
them.
a substantial network which joined in as the live was happening. Binati Sheth, she was on initially when Ram was talking about the challenges in the school initially. She said that even she had to deal with bullies and annoying people, and she said that she had to find a way of finding humor in all these interactions. That was the sort of way she was able to cope up with these. And other than that, I think it's been more about the inspiration that Ram is bringing out, that conversation is the first part. That if you're willing to sit down and talk about it, that's normalizing. And that's like what all of us can do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
When you see a
yeah,
trans person on the street and you ignore them or you walk away from them, instead of just having a smile, just smile from a distance. That would make a big difference. When people are hated for just who they are, I think that is absurd.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Similar to, so many, especially when people of color, at times when in the US, you see people are walking, and then suddenly you see somebody who's not like you, and you cut the road, and you go the other way. So it's just like that. Similar sort of thing here. Rather than doing all of that, just smile, look in the eye and smile. I think that would make such a lot of difference. You're absolutely spot on with
True.
that, Ram. So as a once again reiterating the fact that Rainbow Professionals is all about shining the spotlight on this amazingly talented pool of people. Every Thursday night at 9 we will be listening to stories of different individuals in different phases of their transition professionally and personally. So people, reminder for you, please join us every Thursday night, curated with the help of Pride Circle, brought to you by Preeti Chaudhary via LinkedIn Live. Ram, coming to close the show, couple of parting advices, please, to the community and to would-be allies.
To the community, I would say you're anyway fabulous. You're enough. You don't have to be in self doubt. You don't have to feel like a disappointment because there's nothing wrong in you. uh, Self acceptance is a very important part of life. Once you only self accept, can we move on and have other people talk about it in a positive light when we are beyond doubt. And we are amazing people. There's a great history of talented, brilliant LGBT people from around the world who have done so much. Read about them. It will just give you so much more inspiration about a community. It's a beautiful community. Uh, and yeah, find that support network, build that support network, give back, be an ally to other people because it's a two-way street. And be who you are. And you're not just LGBT, you're so much more. So don't dim your light because other people don't get you. Shine as bright as you can. For allies, I, as Amit said, engage. Start engaging. You may not have the right vocabulary. You will make mistakes. That's how we learn. We write the damn A like 1,000 times till we get it how to write A correctly as a kid. It's the same for everything else in life. We start engaging, we make mistakes, we laugh about it together, and then we move on. And hating is just horrible. There's nothing anyone gets out of hating. So I think open up your eyes, open up your heart, engage a bit, and just dabble. I mean, there's so much more we can do coming together as a larger community than bucketing people into separate boxes and saying this is not acceptable, that is not acceptable. Yeah,
Thank you for that. With that, this is time now to say our goodbyes. Before that, though, thank you, Ram, for being here today and for this
thank you so much
wonderful
for having
conversation.
me.
I've really absolute pleasure anytime, and learned so much in terms of the little nuances of being an ally or being open about stuff, having a broad-based sort of worldview kind of a thing. So it was really enlightening and amazing. Thank you to our streaming partners, Echo Events. And I'm looking forward to this series wherein we get to meet some amazing people on Rainbow Professionals via LinkedIn Live by PC Live. This is your host, Preeti Chaudhary, signing off with Colonel Amit Verma, retired, and Ram Kumar Sinha, our dear friend. Until next time, stay
Thank
safe.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe and bye. Take care.
Right.